this stage would become the investment bank for private equity world. They're looking at really well-established companies. And so where's the value being added? So there are natural efficiencies, as the professor kind of indicated before, which is, you put a bunch of companies together, you're going to get economies of scale. So if I buy a company that's one's in Texas, one's in Florida, one's in California, guess what cost for me just went down? If I got companies now in 3 parts of the country instead of 1, transportation, shipping, do you think that maybe we're going to start buying all from the same supplier? I mean, if Sarah orders a pizza, she's going to pay $12. If she orders a pizza for this entire room, she's going to pay 8, right? So the costs are going to go down for suppliers, right? Now then, this is where it gets tricky. Are you going to outsource? Are you going to lay people off? You're going to have redundancies at middle management, at senior management, and that's where the human element comes into play. And I think it certainly goes. I don't want to go into these conversations without acknowledging that every deal that we look into, there's an incredible personal element to this. I mean, we're talking about mainly founders and their children still running the company. They are pillars of the community. They've been employing people for decades. If deals don't happen, 99% of the time it's personal. It has something to do with that we didn't respect the process or we didn't understand what they were looking for, and it's a really particular delicate balance between art and science of reading people and the emotional side, and then the valuation of how you think you're going to create value. I'm sure you have.
No, I don't think that's exactly right. I would disagree a lot. I think but that's the problem, right? I mean, and we live in a society where we like to polarize everything. And so you either hate these things because of the reasons that you said and the human cost, or you love them because you think it's the free market at work and it creates these economies of scale. Again, I tend to be supportive, but I think we don't have to look at these things through polarized lenses. We can acknowledge that there's things happening, but I think there probably are even more positives in terms of human costs, but I suspect that these personal issues are addressed more often than portrayed in the media, but they just don't make for a good debate on cable news networks.
Yeah, no, it's certainly, yeah, you make a good point, which these things are case-by-case basis. And I think that one of the things that, to kind of speak to the kind of the altruism, or, can you be, now I split my time between investment banking, and then I also am a senior, kind of a top advisor to a philanthropist who's made a lot of money and is now giving it away, right? So, can you be an altruistic capitalist or something? I think there are certain people that will say, absolutely not. It's impossible to make money off of people. And that's the side that thinks it's a zero-sum game. You win, I lose, I win, you lose. And that's just not how capitalism has worked. The pie gets bigger. That's just the reality. Now, can there be inefficiencies? Can there be disproportionate? Just like anything else. And I think one of the things that frustrates me is that the portrayal of, well, if you're putting together multi-million-dollar deals, you have to, and yes, you're going to personally profit from them. That makes you potentially less virtuous. Whereas if you hold, I don't know, $500 billion of government spending in your hands and you use it to pay to help special interest groups, that makes you a saint. I don't see how that works. Just because it's not your money doesn't make you much better. It doesn't make it better for the people that you're purporting to help. And I think let's not fool ourselves. They're getting a gain. It's called staying in office, or getting another term, or what have you. And everyone's self-motivated. That's just silly to think otherwise. So I think big government often behaves very similar to corporations. And so when you take competition out of the equation, and we know that large corporations have done that. They have the part they benefited from in creating a new product and a new service, they then squash the opportunity of a new company to come along. And that's because they're now interested in their shareholders and not necessarily in the Friedman idea of complete free economics, or free market economics. So anyway.
No, that they have power relationships with government. And so,
yes.
So regulation is oftentimes there to protect large corporations and from competition and create barriers in entry into the market.
No, and it's in fact there's a book a friend of mine wrote speaking to this. It was a number of years ago. It was depression, I think. I can't remember the name of the book, offhand, it had a long title, but his name is Tim Carney. And he spoke about that. And this is a guy that's, a very conservative guy, worked for, oh gosh, I just forgot the guy's name, longtime journalist in DC, passed away a couple years ago. But, so you would have never thought that guy would be ever against any corporation ever. And in fact, he said, no, this is exactly the problem, is that they start to behave just like any large institution does. It starts to be more interested in protecting its interests than it is about allowing for competition and for individuals to thrive. So, other questions?
We have time for one more. Anybody? I have sort of an off-the-wall one, I guess. I don't know how relevant it is, but basically you were talking about you had incorporated it in 2 different states. Are you exploring different options in other states? And if so, what's, I don't know, something unusual or incredibly generous or something that a state's offering in the way of either an incentive to start a business or maybe some kind of loose regulation or something like that? Is there anything that?
Yeah, no, that's interesting, especially talking about incentives, because it is, again, gets into the role of the interaction between the government and enterprise. There's one of the companies we're looking at is based in Vidalia, Georgia, which outside of Vidalia onions, so that's probably all that town's known for. And so these guys were actually in Florida previously, which is a pretty, business-friendly state, but they got such incentives to move to this small town in Georgia. It was like no taxes for 5 years, a building for their operations, and so on and so forth. Now, again, obviously a local government or a state government combined with the local government has every right to do that, and they're in some ways behaving almost like a business, saying we've got to figure out a way to incentivize people to come here. We know that they're going to employ 100 or 150 people. Those people are going to buy homes. Those people are going to pay taxes. Those people, whatever, right? So one of the bigger concerns we're looking at is, well, if we buy this company, they're one of the smaller ones. They would probably get absorbed. But we don't want to lose out on this great opportunity. Maybe we should look into expanding operations there because it's such a kind of a opportune situation for us in terms of taxes and so forth. One of the things I haven't asked is how these things will get incorporated, because one of the larger companies we're looking at is based in Texas, and certainly if you hear anything from Rick Perry, Texas is the greatest place to ever have a business in the history of mankind. So I'm actually curious how we'll structure it, and I don't actually know, maybe you know, because we haven't gotten to the end of it. If you buy 3 or 4 companies, and do you incorporate, or how do you decide where you're going to incorporate? Is it based off of the volume of each business, or you can incorporate wherever you want? I can incorporate wherever you're doing business. But I mean, if you had a company in Texas.
If you want to think about that for a second, actually, I'm sorry. We're going to let anybody who has to get to class or otherwise leave, you can go ahead and go now. If you have any questions about the event or anything else,